Well, that's really the interesting question, because there's been a lot of pressure mounting on the United Nations mission here. They call it the stabilization mission, to put an end to this crime wave of kidnappings and shootings that has erupted in the last few weeks. There's a general strike that has been called for Monday. The local business community and a number of politicians are furious at the UN's reluctance to take a much harder line against the criminal activity. The UN, for its part, says, hey, this is not part of our mandate. We are not here as a crime-fighting force. So you have this difference of opinion about just how proactive the 9,000 peacekeepers should be in pursuing these few hundred very well-armed bandits who are in their stronghold at the seaside slum of Cité Soleil. And so over the next few days, I think we will probably see some heightened activity on the part of the peacekeeping force here to try and smother the gangland activity that's been going on.
Claude, thank you very much. The CBC's Claude Adams in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. As it has been for so much of its modern history, Haiti is a mess. As you just heard, an election that was supposed to be held today has been delayed again. Gangs control large parts of the capital, Port-au-Prince, despite the presence of international security force. And yesterday, the Brazilian commander of that peacekeeping force was found dead on the balcony of his hotel room. To put all of this into perspective, we're joined by Jean Saint-Vil. He's one of Canada's top authorities on Haiti, and he joins us from Ottawa. So, Jean, let's first deal with the death of the UN's mission chief. What are you hearing about the circumstances around his death?
Well, we're hearing very little, except that there are two theories, that one might be a suicide and the other one, it might be that he was killed. What we're hearing is that the night before he was killed, there was a heated debate between him and Juan Gabriel Valdez, who is the head of the mission, the civilian head of the mission, a Chilean. And then the next morning he was found dead. What we also know is that this weekend, just on Thursday or Friday, we had a lot of statements made by the business leaders in Haiti, namely Réginald Boulos, who is one of the few very active white Haitians who've been very vocal against the deposed government. And he basically said that it's about time for the UN to march in on Cité Soleil and cleanse Cité Soleil of criminals, as they have done for Bel Air. And he also said that his community is ready to put up some fund to help victims of collateral damage. It is in that context that we found that Mr. Baccelar was found dead. We need to remind people also that the predecessor of Mr. Baccelar, General Heleno, had complained in March and in June 2005, saying that if he carries the pressures that he is receiving, he might end up in front of the International Tribunal, and he asked that he be replaced by his superiors in Brazil.
So does this explain the surge in kidnappings and killings in recent months, notably of the a former RCMP officer, Mark Burke, who was murdered recently there?
Well, I don't know if we have answers to these things. Every time the UN personnel got killed in Haiti, we were told that there's going to be an inquiry, but we haven't seen any result of these inquiries. So there needs to be a public inquiry into the role of MINUSTA in Haiti since the coup. And I believe that the role that Canada is playing in Haiti requires that we be at the forefront of this demand for an inquiry, because one of the things that we've heard, for instance, is that one of the prime suspects in the killing of Officer Book is the gang that was led by La Bannière. La Bannière was reported in the Miami School of Law report as being working for the right-wing elite in Haiti, Henri Apaid.
Tell us a little bit more about the role Canada is playing in Haiti right now.
Well, right now, we know that we do have RCMP officers in Haiti. There is still a debate as to whether we have soldiers of the JFT-2 in Haiti. People are not confirming whether they are in Haiti, but we know that
That's a Special Forces unit.
Special Forces unit, and it is reported that those units were in Haiti the night of the coup to protect the airport while the American Marines took the president out of Haiti and dumped him in the Central African Republic. The role that we know of is the political role. For instance, Prime Minister Paul Martin was the first Canadian Prime Minister ever to go to Haiti in 200 years of Haiti's existence in November 2004. And one of the statements he made there was that there are no political prisoners in Haiti. And he was saying that while the actual legal Prime Minister of Haiti was in jail and has been in jail since Prime Minister Yvon Neptune, and we know there are now thousands of political prisoners, including Father Gérard Jean-Just, who is considered by Amnesty International as a prisoner of conscience.
All right. Amidst all of this, an election is planned for next month, but the OAS, the Organization of American States, which Canada is a member of, is insisting that voters be issued high-tech biometric ID cards. Why is the OAS insisting on this when most Haitians don't even have running water?
Well, that's exactly the point, and we were pointing that out at the beginning because there's a Canadian, a CEDA employee, a consultant, Ron Gould, who reported that back in April, and we wrote and saying that it doesn't make sense in a country that doesn't have electricity to impose, and it is an imposition of the Organization of American States, that we do have this high-tech election. And what happened is that once it became clear that this thing has become a fiasco, what we see is finger-pointing. The foreigners who participated in the coup are pointing to the puppet government, and the puppet government is pointing to the foreigners. Meanwhile, the Haitian people are sitting there looking like zombies, because in reality, people need to also realize that elections were organized in Haiti in 1990, in 1995, and in 2000. And all these elections were conducted with technology that is appropriate to the reality of Haiti. And not only that, we had people who were trained in electoral process, and all of these people have been evicted. This highlights the reality that what's happening in Haiti right now is out of the hands of the Haitian population. And it is those people who considered themselves to know better than Haitians how to run a country that went in there, removed 7,000 elected officials and put convicted criminals in their stead, and now everybody is trying to point fingers at everybody, and the mess, the people who are suffering the most are the Haitian people.
Jean Saint-Vil, very interesting to speak with you today. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
I have questions about